moving on to tents and trees. So this is actually, it's just come out on Steam this month, but actually tents and trees, is it out in Steam at the moment? Or just about to be out in Steam? It's been out on Android and iOS and Switch for a while. It first came out March 23, but it's just hitting PC now. So it's a straightforward, just like not Picross, but I tend to feel this is more like I can't remember the name of the game I was playing for ages. Tiny Islands, right? Is it Tiny Islands? Where you have to place things given a certain set of rules. Right, so let's go for. So it's quite simple rules. Tents have to go next to a tree, right? So each tree has to have a tent next to it. This is telling you how many tents are in a particular row and column, and tents cannot be next to each other. You can also put down grass where you're pretty sure there's going to be, no tent. So we can look here and let's have a look. 0 in these columns. So let's just fill these in with grass with a right click, and that means this one here, there's got to be a tent there. That's the tent for this row, so fill that with grass, and there's supposed to be a tent, one more tent in this column. It has to be by this tree. And there's no other tents in this row. Boom, boom. There's one in this column. It's got to be here. It's got to be by a tree. And in this column, we've got to have it by a tree there. Oops. And that means the one remaining tent has got to be beside this tree. Thank you. So let me go to the menu. Let's just jump to a little bit back to menu. Let's go to where I'm at. It hasn't got that much harder yet. Let's start this one off again. Can I just reset the level? Reset the level. Let's just start this one. Yeah, retry. Okay. So 0 here for this with grass, and 0 here. So there's no tents here. There's got to be 2 in this column. So that definitely is not going to be where the tent is. It's no tree. Again, it's not going to be any tent there, right? There's going to be 1 in this column. So it's either here or here. 1 in this column. Several different places it could be. And 1 in this column. And there's only 1 place a tent can be in this column, and that is here. So this tree has got 1 next to it already. So there's going to be no tent here because a tree is only associated with a single tent. So let's see. There's 1 in this row, 1 in this row. Okay, we know there's a tent here with this. Oops. Here we go. Associated with this tree. That means this must be empty. There's only 1 tent in here. It's got to be next to this tree. There's no other space for it otherwise. This column is complete, so it's got to be a tent here for this tree. And this tree, so this tent here is associated with this tree. This is not associated with this tree, which means there has to be a tent here, just to be clear on that rule. Right, this is the next set. So that was the 5x5 set. This is the 6x6 set. As you move on, there's 6x6 easy, 6x6 easy, 7x7 easy, 7x7 hard. And at this point, it starts getting hard. But you have to finish. You have to get 25 crowns to unlock. I don't know how many crowns I've got. How many crowns have I got? I've got 10 crowns. Right. Let's take a look at a 6x6. Okay. Oh, you can just hold on the mouse. You don't have to click, click, click. You can just draw. Nice. Okay. There's one in here. Could be either one of these. There's two here. There's only 2 spaces. So, would it be there? So there's one in every one of these rows. I am slightly... No, I'm not confused about it. The only... You could put a tent here, or here, but you've got to put a tent down here in the bottom as well. There's only one place for that tent. That is here. Which means in this row, the tent has to be here. This row, only one place for the tent, and that's here. And in this row, one tent. Can't be here. I mean, can't be here because this tree already has one. And this tree is already associated with the tent. This tree is already associated with a tent. And so if we're going to put a tent here, it's got to be against the currently unattached tree. Which means this... Oh, it's got to be in a corner here because of the numbers. There we go. More water, please. I got another crown. I don't think there's any more mechanics here. It's just, this is basically it. It's just tents and trees. Again, originated on, I think probably originated on mobile. More supposed to be like a, you know, just lots of levels to get through with daily packs. You know, just to get yourself through your commute. What are we looking at? Right. Zeros, zeros, zeros. Oh, if you just click the... Sorry, quick. Oh, I can just right click here and just put grass all along it. We've got one in this, 2 here. It's 3 choices there. What about here? There's 2 here. Again, 3 choices here. But that can't have a tent because there's no tree. That's got to be a tent there for this tree. And that's the only other place here. That tent against this tree here. Either one of these are valid at the moment, but looking down... Oh, this says it's going to be two trees in this column. There's only 2 spaces left. So that means this must be empty. This column has 1 tent in it. There's only 1 space. This one's now full up. And where does this extra tree go? Must be here, right? I do like the... I don't even know what it is, but those little... You know, that kind of almost like a stone shattering into bits. I don't know if it's supposed to be like knocking into your tent peg into a ground or something. But I like the little effect. Okay. That's the zeros covered. Right, there's 1 in this column. Could be here or here. 1 in this column. There's only 1 place for that. That's there. Okay. 3 in this column. Well, that can't have 1, so it's got to be here, here, and here. What else are we looking at? At the bottom here. Can have 1 in either one of these spaces, so it can't be there, obviously. There's 1 in this column. That has to be empty. It's got to be there. There's 2 in this column. That's got to be filled up now. column's pretty much finished. So what are we looking at here? So it's got to be, yeah, 2 in this column. It's got to be there. Tents cannot touch each other. I've made a mistake. You can't have 2 tents next to each other like that. I feel like I need to restart because I thought it was pretty obvious getting to that point. Yeah, I want to try it. I didn't think I was going to get anything wrong. Okay, let's do these. The zeros again. Let's go again. So this tree. 1 in this column. Can't be there. One of these 2. 1 in this column. It's got to be next to this tree here. There are 2 in this column. Could be here, here, or here. That's definitely empty. Oops. That's definitely empty. So we got 2 here and 3 here. So I'm pretty. I keep on pressing the wrong button. Look at it. It's got to be a tent there, tent there, and tent there. So this tent is associated with this tree. This tent is with this tree. That's going to be. That's definitely empty. 2 tents in this column. 1 tent in this column. 2 tents here. That's definitely empty. So one of these has a tent in it. Can't be this one. It's got to be that one. So this is where I made the mistake, I guess. I can't put the tent here. It's got to be on the other side. I must have made a mistake down the bottom here. Interesting. Right. Well, I think I'm gonna have to do another 12 levels. I'm gonna start seeing the hard stuff. But anyway, that is back to the menu. 6x6. Let's have a look at a 7x7. 20. Come on. This is the hardest I can make it. I'm trying my best. Okay, so we got 1 0 row. We've got 2 tents at the bottom here. 2 across the top. You know what? Let's try and fill in all the spaces we know there's not going to be any tents. Let's just fill all of this stuff in. Okay. Goes there. We're getting closer and closer now to... I think that's everything. So there's 1 in this column. One of these 2 is 1 here, 1 here, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2. Did I just choose too hard for myself here? There's 2 in this column. 1 here. Wow. 20 tents. How many spaces have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's have a look at this area down here. Because there's 3 different possibilities for this and only 2 for this. If I put a tent here, can't have a tent there. So we're going to have a tent. Not necessarily. Because this tent could be associated with this tree and we could have a tent at the bottom here. No, we can't. Because the column can only have 1. So let's try. If I put a tent here, that means the tent must be either here or here on this tree. If I put a tent here, then there's got to be a tent here or here again. I don't think I've narrowed anything down here. No, I didn't help at all. Let's have a look at the bottom. Is that going to help? No, obviously. So where's the chink in this level's armor? Wow, there's a lot of only one goes in here, above or below. If I put the tent there, which tree is it associated with? Damn it. Okay, let's go here. Imagine there's a tent here. This might be interesting. So that tree will be spoken for. So this guy can have a tent in any one of these spaces. Ah, but not this one, because then the tent would be adjacent. Not adjacent, but neighboring, next to each other. So the tent could only be in one of these 3 spaces. I don't think that's narrowing it down. Do I have to go further along and just... Okay, okay. There's 2 in this column. Tents cannot be next to each other, so 1 must be there. There we go. So that tent doesn't need any more trees around it. This row, is now complete. I found it. I found the way through. And that must apply for everything else too. So there's 2 in this row. So one of them must be here. Which means this must be empty. And that must have one in it. So there's 1 tent here, 1 tent down here. Okay, that's empty because we've already got a tent in this. Oh god, there's already 1 tent in this column. There's got to be a tent there because of the number. What are we looking at over here? One of these must have a tent, and it's for this tree. And again, we got one of these has got a tent. One of these has got a tent. That means that's got to be empty, surely, right? Because if you put a tent here, neither of these can have a tent, and then this doesn't. Oh, it could work. It could work. You can still put the tent down here. One. 2. So there's going to be 1 tent here, sure, and 1 tent in this column. That means this must be empty, because there's going to be 1 tent. You can't have the tents in. Yeah, one's going to be beside each tree. That's going to be empty. So that's empty. So this tree must have a tent here or here. This tree must have a tree here or here. There's a tree in... Tent! Oh my god. There's a tent in one of these spaces. There's also a tent in one of these 2 spaces, which means there will be definitely a tent in one of these spaces. Where does the tent go here? This is always going to be illegal because it'll be next to a tent. So the tent must be here. And because of the adjacent rule, the other tent has to be here. Can't put it here. Which means the other tent is surely here, right? Yes. Okay. How does that help? This is just 2. There's 1 tent here. There's 1 tent here. Oh, the neighbor rule. We cannot put a tent here. Which means tent. Well, that was a bit tougher than the earlier ones. I'm glad I jumped to the hardest possible one on the list there. So that was the final game of the stream. Tents and Trees from Frozax Games, which is currently on Windows, Switch, Android, and iOS. I'm just going to drop in the Steam link for you into the chat. And there you go. That's it there. So yeah, it's a fairly gentle puzzler. You can see it's kind of designed for commuters. You know, there's just lots and lots of levels just to get through. But yeah, if that's a kind of thing, nice design experience really, go for that.